Hello everybody, this is Hero back with another Dragonflight video, and I'm just starting to get into some sort of small to medium sized keys. We have a 10 Algeth'ar's Academy here, so I'm just gonna put the gameplay on for you and commentate on the things going through my mind as I play sub, what's happening, this kind of stuff. I'll show you the talents below, you can check that out. I think I am currently eye level 379. So we're going to go over to Vexamus first and then come back to the tree boss. This first big pull can be a bit of a nightmare, especially on Fortify with pugs. I could be kicking more, but I'll be honest, I was slightly behind the tank because I wanted to use my puzzle box first, as you saw at the opener. Ideally, I would get down, grab my crit buff, and be ready to go before the tank went through. I wasn't quite sure which direction he was going to go, but I should have done my puzzle box first so that I can get in, do my combo, and then after secret technique, I can work on things like kidney shots. But overall, not too bad. Here I'm trying to do a little bit more work to spread rupture throughout the dungeon, and you'll see at different times when I screw that up, meaning I'll have tornado going, but I'll miss a tick of it trying to find a rupture target. This is one of the gameplay pieces you have to get used to as Sub Rogue. When you're using tornado, you're compressing all of your next GCDs into spenders, and it's easy to press black powder, but when you have to find a target to rupture, it's a little more difficult, especially if you want to tab target every single GCD to find new targets and spread it. So just be aware that that can be a challenge, but as you go up in keys, you're likely going to use rupture more often than black powder because things last longer. So it's nice to just get a start to the season testing some of these things out. Otherwise, you can see rotationally, pretty standard stuff. We're just trying to build up Dance Macabre stacks for every secret technique. And generally speaking, that means for me, I will open with a rupture from a 7-point Shadow Dance. So it'll be, Shurikenstorm, Shadow Dance, and then I hit Rupture. And then Shurikenstorm again, BP, Shurikenstorm, Sectech. So that's the usual baseline that I'm working with. You can min-max it even better than that. But in general, if I don't have Tornado, that's how I'm thinking about it. I want to enter a pack with 9 stacks, and so I can get a Rupture out within the Shadow Dance window on AoE. Oftentimes you enter a pack outside of Shadow Dance, that's fine. I just Shurikenstorm and spread Ruptures until you get it back, and then you can burst with Black Powder and Secret Technique. So gameplay wise, that's pretty consistent throughout the dungeon. You're going to see a need to use probably more than one Shadow Dance per pack as you move past 10. 10 is still kind of low. You can see things are getting burst down pretty heavily. If you do have Algeth'ar's Trinket, it's nice for the boss pulls because you can get it off before the boss lands, especially Vexamus and the bird, which, and actually the tree's similar. It also has a little moment where you're waiting for it to come down. So it has some RP. RP is nice if you're using Puzzle Box because you can time it properly. Here the tank's trying to give us some space. I screw something up here in a second. I think I stand bad, but it's not the end of the world. Just proc cheat death and keep going. I was really trying to work on my single target in this run, getting down the exact rotation so that at the back end of my Shadow Dance in the opener, I can get off a Shadow Strike Eviscerate, a Shadow Strike Eviscerate. So after Sectech is done, I noticed that the quality of my single target had gone down. I just had some bad habits, so I've been working on trying to think about after Secret Technique is finished, what's the exact order of buttons I want to press. And yeah, so we'll see, especially in the last boss, I think it's successful, and the bird boss, I think I did a better job in the opener. But you should be able to burst pretty high, just given that you're not wasting those points. This section can be rather frustrating for pugs depending on the pull, but this tank was actually excellent. He made sure that we dealt with the stupid bugs at the right time. You'll see a little later in this pack, we pull in the next set of bugs. Just so you're aware of what I'm thinking about in these pulls especially, you want to land good secret techniques. So it's okay to have one less stack of secret technique if you can't get a rupture off. It's much better to get your secret technique out even at 4 stacks of dance macabre. You can see outside of it I can just spread rupture to the bugs since they'll last, but really we're focused on bursting down with black powder here. So volume is the main thing. You want as many secret techniques to go off, so the swirlies that are getting produced watching this pull are sort of deadly, and the idea of trying to do a Shurikenstorm into a rupture can be a major snag if you're crossing over these lines. So it's better to just hit BP a bunch of times and hit Sec Tech. It'll be simpler for you to pull off, and obviously cleaving one of your ruptures onto these little ads isn't ideal anyways. So some of the takeaways from me is you can press secret technique, you can dip in, press it, and then dip out, and the secret technique shadows will still hit wherever you pressed it. So it'll do the cleave on the mobs. So you really only have to be present for the first button press of secret technique. It isn't in melee, so that's a little weird compared to just running around the mobs. And you'll see later in the dungeon when we do the dragons up top, kind of circling around the edge and pressing Shurikenstorm into black powder. You do have to dip in and press secret technique a little bit, but as a technique, don't try to rupture too much in this portion of the dungeon. Just work on getting your secret tech timing. Here, my focus is really going to be on keeping the ad that gets spawned right here locked down. So we get a kick from, I think, our warrior. I'm focused all my attention on this. And here's the big moment. I kidney it here because I know that's a danger moment. In other times I've done this dungeon, it starts casting its healing touch right as those mobs are spawning. So I would recommend in the first or in the second germinate, toss out a full 7-point kidney on the ad. That ensures it's locked down until all of the swirlies are gone, and you can go back to the work of manually kicking it. Relying on a ranged kick there is also fine, but they're doing mechanics. Help your team out. Toss a kidney shot out. So you can kick the first one when it first spawns, and then during the second germinate, you can toss out a kidney. It's really free because you can easily get one back with Shurikenstorm. In this part of the dungeon, I tend to use a cloak charge to absorb the first hit, and you'll see here my secret technique timing is a little awkward. I'm trying to get back to it before I have to duck around the corner. The tank's done a good job of putting the mob right in an area where I can easily zip out. You see how I hit secret technique, I ducked around, and the shadow clone damage stayed. So again, you only have to press secret technique and then you can run away. But that was a little bit dicey. I'm glad I tried it though. It was nice to get a test. This next portion with the birds, I'm usually just using tornado on the first portion and then usually tornado on the second or the third one, or if it comes up in time. But these get burst down pretty fast. It's only a 10, remember. You can tricks your tank, which is what I tend to do here, to make sure that we group up these mobs and that you don't get autoed down. I always throw a rupture on this bird, and then I tend to throw a few more eviscerates while everyone's blasting it. Definitely want to cleave rupture onto the next set of birds. It does last a little longer, and I think you'll probably get 2 uses of Shadow Dance on this final third set before the boss. Remember, there is a little bit of RP, so it's okay to spend your buttons because you will get it back for the bird boss. You can see here we get secret technique off, and then we're just trying to funnel a bit of our damage. So both of these ads are up for a little while. It's okay to even throw blades if I wanted to. I think I decided to hold it because I thought maybe our damage is good enough, but blades wouldn't have been bad to send here as well. Remember, Shadow Blades is a sort of low quality CD. It's probably one of the worst cooldowns, probably almost across all specs, all DPS specs. Maybe there's one that's a little worse, but it's a major cooldown, it got adjusted from 3 minutes to 2 minutes because it was so bad. The reason it's bad in part is because we already get a lot of combo point generation through crit. And Shadow Blades is okay as a button, it's just not, it's a little lackluster, so it's okay to send it. You don't have to feel like I'm wasting an Infernal, like for Destro Lock or something. You can see here I'm trying to get Shadow Strike into Eviscerate at the end of my sec tech, and you can see it pays off. You hit something like 55k in my gear. I was screwing that up before, so just remember, because we have Mythic plus talents, our opener and single target's a little bit scuffed. You still want to do the same basic function of step in, throw your cooldowns, your Shadow Blades and Symbols of Death, and then you're going to Rupture. After that, you can go into Dance, and you want Gloom Blade to be your first button, and then you want to do one Shadow Strike, you want to Eviscerate, and we want to get back to a full 7-point Secret Technique. That'll leave 2 GCDs open after the Secret Technique, and we want that to be a Shadow Strike into an Eviscerate. If you can manage it, you have Vanish up, you want to vanish that Shadow Strike to get the extra combo points and for it to do a little bit more damage. So these are small things to work on. You notice I didn't put the Vanish in there, so I screwed that up. But nevertheless, I'm working on thinking about my single target rotation from the perspective of Mythic plus talents, and always things to improve. That boss went pretty well. We just did full fire, which I think is probably correct for Fortified. We'll see on High Tyrannical how it turns out. And now we get into the rest of the percentage, which the tank has decided we want to pull most of the dragon area, which I thought was pretty good. And again, we'll see here, even without the use of the talent Acrobatic Strikes, we still can do the majority of our damage during these guys' spin. So we're going to do a big pull here, and then we're trying to get our Secret Technique out. You'll see me doing a lot of dipping to tag Secret Technique and then dipping out to do Black Powder. So I'm out of range, still building points. I'm going to build from range here, and then I'll dip in. You can see there I dipped in, tagged the mob, and then dipped out. That's kind of the strategy that I've been thinking about. Obviously, I'd love to get more ruptures on these targets. That's why my damage is lower. I'm at about 85 per, K, something like that. We would probably push 120 if we had ruptures rolling. But don't let the don't let the perfect situation mess you up. The enemy, what is it? The enemy of the good is the perfect, meaning you could do it well. To try to do it perfectly might screw you up. Trying to get in there and rupture everything might mess it up. So start with this basic foundation of being at range, firing off your Shuriken Storms, and then sneak in for your Secret Technique, and then sneak back out. If you can tag ruptures as you're getting going, that's fine. You can also shiv these targets. You'll see they enrage. It's partly this week. There's other enrage targets in other dungeons, but that's something you can do if you want to help. Tricksing your tank is also useful here as he's gathering stuff. You can see there's a hunter also doing it too, so we got really good ad management for our tank, which is fine. I get a little low here because I'm a little greedy, trying to get my ruptures off, but that's okay. We got to try things. Here I'm going to dip in, tag, and then dip back out. So I got Tornado going to reset things outside of Dance. We're back in Dance in a second, and then off we go. So no rupture here, but I can dip in. I only got a 4-point Secret Technique there, which wasn't great, but you're in a weird compressed area. Just do your best and don't stress too much about that stuff. Could have thrown a few more kidneys in there as well, but I really like this dungeon for showing you some of the positional dynamics for our AoE rotation. Even though we don't have that extended range access, which would be somewhat useful, it's not as necessary as you think. Final boss, I'm again just trying to practice my timings. I could have vanished there, but I'm going to use my vanish on the second explosion from Echo de Regresa. So I'm going to use Cloak here for the first one. In a longer fight, I use it on the first one because you can get it back for the third or fourth or whichever suck it would be. But we want to keep vanish so that we can step back in after we do the second suck. You can see we go out here, I'm going to hit vanish and go back in, and then we're back into Shadow Dance. We're just doing those good things. I'm going to hold dance for I think a second and a half because my trinket was coming up, and I prefer to do my damage while Algeth'ar's is rolling. And we also got thundering, so that wasn't horrible timing overall. Min-maxing, I'm just testing some things out. But nevertheless, those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about throughout this dungeon. And you'll see that the damage was pretty good. Again, I think, what am I in? 379 gear, and we finished at about 62k. We probably could have pushed it to 65. You'll notice the breakdown here is going to lean a little bit more towards black powder. That's mostly because of the bug section and the spinny dragon section where I can't add rupture value. But in other dungeons like HOV, your rupture will be far higher. Secret Technique is still doing for me between 20 to 25% of my overall damage, and I think you should expect the same for your group. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary or rundown of the dungeon. I'll try to do these as I move up through higher ones so that you can see some of the thoughts that are going through my mind as I talk about CC, things I'm looking to kick, what I'm shivving, and then general rotation. But this gives you a flavor of what's going on. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll leave the talents and all that stuff below for you as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys again next time.